What's good, YouTube? Last week was one of the more surprising weeks in hip hop in 2022 when Drake announced that he was going to be dropping his album, Honestly Nevermind, at midnight. And my initial thought when I first heard that Drake was dropping an album so soon after Certified Lover Boy dropped 9 months ago was that he was going to try and take away the narrative from Kendrick Lamar right now. Kendrick Lamar just sold 296,000 units first week with his album. And, there's always been a constant comparison over the years. Who's the best? Drake, Kendrick, J. Cole. And if there's one thing that Drake's been great at, it's just always been dropping more music and staying in the headlines. And, Kendrick just dropped an album. And it was even rumored a long time ago that Drake was actually going to wait for Kendrick to drop just so he could let the competition pass and then he could dominate the headlines again. So that was my initial thought. I really thought Drake was going to just, come in and kind of drop another Certified Lover Boy. Because in a Rap Radar interview in 2019, Drake said that on every album, he's always got to do two things. He's always got to feed his rap audience, people that like the headlines, the Will Be Fines, the mob ties, the free smokes, the still hears. And then he's also got to feed his R&B audience, the people who like the Passion Fruits, the Two Goods, the Marvin's Rooms. And when we all heard this album, I think what we were most shocked about was how slow it was. Now, when it comes to vocals themselves, Drake really was not that different on this album. He was very much, outside of a couple records, for example, like on Falling Back, he was using a lot of heavy auto-tune, which is not like Drake. And on Liability, he was using that J. Cole, A$AP Rocky effect of a very drowned out voice, very deep. But what was so different about this album, though, was the production. The production was very electronic and very much, I think, what we would all describe as dance music. He even had periods during the middle of some songs where he just let the beat ride and it was just meant for people to dance, which is not like most albums in the past. If he ever lets the beat ride, it's from a longer intro or an outro where it fades out. And I think that's what really shocked us all the most. However, I took the time, I listened to this album about 10 times this week, 11 times, and the music itself really is not that bad. I just think that, as far as like the bad sales, not bad sales, but immediately people started trashing the album, I think because it was so different. And, my first thought after really listening to the album a lot was, Drake's been a guy over the past 13 years that his whole career has been revolved around numbers because he has really sold that much more than everybody else. Like, for example, So Far Gone was his first project. It dropped in 2009. He sold 80,000 units first week. Thank Me Later was the project that dropped after that, and he sold 447,000 units first week. So this is going to be his first project. He's on pace right now. From everything I'm seeing, he's going to sell about 210 to 230,000 units. And I think why people got such a bad initial taste of this album was, number one, because it was slow, because he didn't feed that main rap audience. And number two, the production was it was so shocking for a lot of us to hear. And Drake made a comment this week basically saying that he is, he's basically ahead of everybody else. People are going to gravitate to this music. They'll get it in the long term. This is not meant for people to positively receive right now, but they'll get it in the long term. And after listening to it enough, I don't know if I can really make a conclusion of that I think music will go that way, but I do think that it is good music for the most part. Now, I don't think this is the best Drake project I've ever heard, but there are definitely songs where I really enjoyed it. But I also think that the vocals themselves, what Drake was saying, what he was doing, like his subject matter, what he was going for, it was pretty standard Drake, to be honest, but the production was so shocking behind it. And then, one thing I did like too is that the last song that he threw on there, Jimmy Cooks with 21 Savage, which was produced by Tay Keith and a couple other guys, it still showed that he could rap in there. He really could do it. But it was not the music he was choosing to give us right now. So, I thought that was pretty fascinating, honestly. if he had fed the rap audience and singing, I still think he would have sold about 400, 500,000 units first week. But he wanted to use the spotlight right now to be experimental. And a big thing I think of what he was doing was trying to show that people are not defined by, just being a hip hop artist. If people are going to define you as a hip hop artist, you have to be, this way. And I also think that he was, Drake, like I said earlier, Drake has been so defined by numbers his whole career. In order to keep himself excited with music, he's got to do something different. Like, he's done this for 13 years. He has given us so much music and so many amazing classics. What does he really owe us at this point, for real? Like, he doesn't owe us that much that he can afford to be experimental on an album. And then now that he's only going to sell 210, 230,000, which is great for a standard, by the way, for anyone who's going to, any music artist. It's low for Drake's standards, but I think it shows, he's going to take pressure off of himself. He's going to be like, yo, look, like, I'm human. I sold this amount, and I guarantee he makes better music in the future because, if anyone who's ever made something grow, especially in this digital age, you know how concerned you get with numbers. It happens. But once you fall off and things come back to normal, you kind of come to a clarity that, things are not that serious. You don't have to get so concerned with numbers. And I think that's where Drake is at right now. Drake's basically on billionaire status at this point. Like, he doesn't need to be so concerned about numbers, but it's the whole narrative that he cares about. And I think a big thing here is that he's showing us that he doesn't care that much anymore. And he showed us with Jimmy Cooks on the last song of this album. He still has those slappers in there. He has those rap songs. He just chose not to release them. So overall, I thought this was pretty interesting. And another couple of things I want to touch on too. On the song Sticky, Drake said the line, "Virgil came back through the boy." And I was really trying to interpret, what does he mean by this? And Virgil was I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm the biggest Virgil Abloh fan I know his whole life story, because I don't. I know one thing is Virgil is huge, though. One thing he's huge within the industry for is he's got a lot of influence, and he is very experimental. And I think that's what Drake meant by that. Like, Drake is trying to be like that. He's trying to pave ways for people by being experimental with what he's doing. And I think that's the influence and the impact Virgil had on a lot of people, and I think Drake is paying homage to him in that regard. And another line Drake said on Sticky, he said, "Free Big Slime at the cage." And he also, he used the Falling Back music video to say free YSL. And even on the intro of Jimmy Cooks, he mentioned R.I.P. Lil Keed. And I thought it was pretty fascinating about the whole YSL situation because, it really did seem to come out of nowhere, and it came fast. They all got a RICO charge, and like all 28, 29 of them went down. And with Drake choosing to release a project right now, I was like, wow, is he really kind of releasing a whole project, marketing free YSL? Like, I knew him and Young Thug were close, but it makes me wonder, at a higher level, what the whole YSL situation is. What is it an example for? What is it being used to display to all these rappers? What message are they trying to send to hip hop? And what is Drake vocalizing in support of or against what they're trying to do to YSL? So I thought it was pretty fascinating, especially for Drake to touch on it so much. But what did you guys think about the album? I'm still honestly a week plus, we're 6 days in here. I'm coming up with new conclusions and thoughts every single day. I don't think it's the best Drake album I've ever heard, but I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. And I think people who are trashing it right now are not understanding the bigger picture of what Drake was trying to do with this. Like, come on, of course Drake has the slappers in the vault. Of course he has those songs, but he chose not to release them. But why do you think that is? And that's what has me speculating. I'm fascinated with that. Why did he not choose to release those? But I want to know what you guys think about the album in your comments down below. If you liked this video and you want to see more content like this, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.